Good evening and welcome to another fantastic edition of Sitback with Shaq and Anu, where we have some super guests as always on the show. Everyone who's trending today is basically brought onto the show, and clearly, as you can see, the person who's sitting right smack in the middle has been trending for a while. Firstly, good evening, Dr. Harsha.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome to the show and thank you for coming on board.
Yeah, seeing you after 100 years.
200.
But actually, we are very glad that you could come because I know how busy you are.
Yes.
Especially with what's happening all around us.
Yeah.
We will get into it summarily. But before that, we do have a customary poll that we begin with, and I'm sure Harsha features very prominently in this question.
We have a poll that obviously happens on the show at the beginning of the show, depending on either the guest or either what's happening in the country at the moment. And like Anu said, you feature prominently
in the question itself.
So let's find out what the poll is. Here we go.
So it's very simple. Is Dr. Harsha De Silva the best option for Finance Minister? Yes or no? WhatsApp your answer to our hotline 0751 707072. At the end of the show, we will tell you where things stand. It's a very simple yes or no answer as always. And Dr. Harsha, what do you think?
Well, I think this is no longer relevant because I made my answer known.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's
see how people feel.
I've seen many polls over the last few days.
Right.
And one I saw that was almost 100%.
Really? Well, you never know exactly what this is.
I think Royal did one of the polls.
Right.
And so a whole bunch of polls. But now I think people are pretty mad at me. So
you've made your stance and you've obviously gone public and said, listen, I am not going to accept it. Right? Why?
Well, you see, we need to create an all-party government.
Right.
The reason why they are even asking me to join is because, the economics problem cannot be resolved without solving the political problem.
Okay.
Right. So these two are intertwined.
Right.
Yeah. So to get credibility back, right, and to have legitimacy in the government, you need to have as many different representatives of the people in parliament to work together.
Right.
Okay? See, in a government, in a crisis situation like this, one is stability, right? So you can get stability by having 113. Right. You can buy fellows, whatever, right? It's not, people do it all the time, discussing, horse trading.
Right.
But that doesn't bring it legitimacy.
Right.
Legitimacy comes if, you can trust this bunch of people to carry out what they are actually signing up to do.
Right.
So here we are trying to restructure debt,
and
we are trying to get people to agree with us on a medium to long-term plan. And because our credibility is so low, we need to give them some comfort. Right. So that is why this legitimacy is important, and the legitimacy can only come if there is a setup, like I said, ideally with all parties, if not with almost all parties represented.
Right.
Now, if Harsha De Silva joins this government as an independent person, that doesn't build to the legitimacy that we're looking for.
Right.
Because it doesn't reflect me as a part of the opposition.
Yep.
Okay.
Because the opposition is unable to join because of the simple request to the president to give the country a time frame when he is planning to bring the 21st Amendment which has a obvious clause of, I don't want to call it the abolition, but serious watering down of the executive presidency.
Yes.
And subsequently a time frame for him to leave, because that is what we require at this time, because the problem was created by the Rajapaksas.
Right.
And the people want the Rajapaksas gone. There was a recent poll in the Daily Mirror, since we're doing polls, 96% of the people had said they would like to see the executive presidency abolished.
Right.
Right? So that is the rallying cry.
Right.
Right? So we are not asking the president to step down tomorrow or in a week's time, not even a month or two. We're saying give us a time frame.
Right.
Right? So he's not willing to do that. Right? So if he's not willing to do that, no opposition party is willing to join him.
But Dr. Harsha, don't you think it is easier, I suppose, to actually have one foot in the door and then demand and pressurize him to actually give you that time frame rather than standing outside and basically screaming the door down?
No, I mean, it is, I mean, what more do you have to convince him of?
Right.
Correct.
Right? I mean, he has failed miserably. I mean, this country has been brought down to its knees.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have 3 meals to eat, people out there.
Right.
I mean, the first country in this entire Asian region to become a dead loss, bankrupt, in the last 50 years. If for 50 years no country has gone bankrupt in anywhere in this part of the world. I mean, we had much worse basket cases than we are, but they still managed without going bankrupt.
Right.
They bankrupted this country. They finished us off, right? I mean, when we scream blue murder, you know, don't do these things, right? Till I was hoarse, I was, you know, in parliament and outside, right?
We've seen
So many times. Warned these people for 2+ years. And today is a significant day, because today is when we actually default. A hard default happens today. Absolutely. Because we actually said a month ago that we are unable to pay.
Yeah.
But at least they thought within this month they'll be able to appoint the legal firms and the financial firms to try and negotiate some sort of, you know, solicit the consents of the bondholders to get somewhere.
Right.
But we haven't even been able to appoint the damn the legal firm, nor the financial firm.
Could you explain a little more about that what's a hard default and a soft default?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a soft default is when you have consensus among the bondholders that there is going to be a situation where we are unable to pay,
Right.
but then they consent to that.
Right.
They consent to that, right? So once they consent, then we can negotiate some way out.
Right.
Now a hard default is boom, you know, you just don't pay.
Right.
Right. Today there is no consent and we didn't pay.
Right.
So when we didn't pay the coupon, so today is it's an absolutely horrible day for Sri Lanka. Because the domino started falling.
Right.
So, see, these bonds are all interconnected. Let's, for example, say what is due today is just, let's say, you know, $50 million coupon payment on a Series X bond that is due in 2028. Let's just say.
Right.
And it's due today.
Right.
Now, what happens is there are things called cross-default clauses.
Okay.
Right. So, let's say I'm Damada Sri Lanka. I borrowed from you 2028 bond, which the coupon is due today.
Right.
I have a state-owned enterprise called Sri Lankan Airlines.
Right.
That company has borrowed from you $175 million. This number is correct, right?
Yeah.
$175 million, which is not due till, let's say, 2035.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And then you have to pay small payments. Now, there is a cross default between these two.
Right.
So my not paying your $50 million coupon, what that means is immediately the $1 billion that you have lent me comes due today.
Right.
No longer 50 million, 1 billion.
Right.
Right.
Then suddenly this also becomes due.
Right. Wow.
175 million. So tomorrow morning when Sri Lanka gets up, we will probably have to pay, I don't know the number, I asked the Prime Minister today, he didn't know the number, he said that he'll find out the numbers and let us know in Parliament, anywhere between, I don't know, 25 to 50, 25, 30 billion dollars tomorrow
$30
morning.
billion.
Yeah. So
Oh
we're
my
screwed.
gosh.
Wow.
We're screwed.
Right.
Right? So the PM didn't even know the figure, and Sabri got up and said, well, they also don't know the number. Then PM said, well, we don't even have proper statistics. I mean, this country is messed up, right?
Wow.
So all this, so it's like a domino. Boom, boom, boom. Everything hits and everything falls.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So that is why we had to avoid this day today. But the know-it-alls, the fellows who told lies, the jokers who said we have homegrown solutions,
Yeah.
right? People who misled the entire country. You know, I'll tell you something. Now we are in default as of today. When big hedge funds and insurance companies, say, BlackRock, people, guys like that, when they had to get rid of Sri Lanka bonds, when our credit ratings fell, because they can't hold more than a certain percentage of junk, right? And when we are sort of falling, rapidly down to double C and all, they had to get rid of these bonds, right? When they got rid of those bonds, our banks almost doubled their exposure to these bonds.
Wow.
And certain banks. And when you ask them why, they said, Niwad Cabral said, we are going to pay these bonds, remember?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
Right.
We are going to pay, our people are resilient, we have never defaulted a bond, so we will pay.
Right.
Now what has happened?
Right.
Now, holy
Cow.
right? I mean, local banks are holding the baby.
Right.
You think about now the default. Can you even imagine?
This is it's a triple whammy.
So it's not a bunch of foreigners who are going to get hit. It's going to come around and hit us.
Right.
I'm just talking on the international sovereign bonds, on the dollar denominated bonds, what are called euro bonds.
Yeah.
And of course there are other things called Sri Lanka development bonds.
Right.
98% of them are also held by local banks, right? So the situation is very complex,
Right.
right? So a hard default should never have happened. First of all, a default should never have happened.
True.
Yes.
True.
Right? A hard default should never have happened, and it has now happened today.
Wow. On that wonderful note.
Yeah, that's true.
We are actually going to play this. I believe, Dr. Harsha, this was one of the most hard-hitting speeches that you have given in the Parliament.
Absolutely.
And I think we need to listen to its entirety. So here we go. Take a look at this and we'll have a chat with Dr. Harsha on the other side of this.
මේ කරපු උද්දච්ච ක්‍රියාව නිසා අමනෝන්‍ය ක්‍රියාව නිසා ලක්ෂ 220ක් දුක් විඳිනවා මැරෙනවා. මේක පොඩි දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. මේක නිකන් වැරද්දක් නෙමෙයි. මේක මහ විනාශයක්. this is criminal. සාපරාධී ක්‍රියාවක්. දැන් කියන්න බෑ ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වනම් මට වැරදුනා කියලා. එතනින් ඒක විසඳෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි දිගින් දිගටම මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අදහස් ඉදිරිපත් කරා. විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය අහෝසි කිරීම තමයි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ඉල්ලන්නේ. න්‍යායයේ තියෙනවා යම්කිසි මුදල් ඒකකයක් අවප්‍රමාණ කරනවා නම් කොහොමද කරන්න කියලා. ඒක තියෙනවා සීක්වන්සින් කියලා. මම අලි සබ්රි ඇමතුමාට එදා රෑ ටෙලිෆෝන් එකෙන් කතා කරලා කිව්වා. එතුමා පුදුම වුණා. මං කිව්වා සබ්රිව හොයන්න මේ ගැන කියලා. දැන් අපේ ලක්ෂ්මන් කිරියල්ල ඇමතුමා කිව්වා, මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කිව්වා පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ලැබිය යුතු බලය ලැබුණ නැහැ කියලා මුදල් පිළිබඳව අපිට 148න් ලැබිච්ච. මම ඔබතුමාට එකක් මතක් කරනවා. මේ ස්ථාවර නියෝගවල තියෙනවා 121. රජයේ මුදල් පිළිබඳ කාරක සභාව. මේක තියෙනවා සභාපතිවරයා විරුද්ධ පාර්ශවයේ මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක් විය යුත්තේ කියලා තියෙනවා. හර්ෂ ද සිල්වා කියන පුද්ගලයාගේ නම විරුද්ධ පාර්ශවයෙන් මේ මුදල් මණ්ඩලයට යෝජනා කරා සභාපති හැටියට. ඔබතුමා මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර් සස්පෙන්ඩ් කරලා මේ ස්ටෑන්ඩින් ඕඩර්ස් එකේ තියෙන 121 දෙන්න බෑ කියලා රජයේ මන්ත්‍රීවරයෙක්ට ඇමතිවරයෙක්ට ඒක ලබා දුන්නා. එදා අපි දිගින් දිගටම මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් අදහස් ඉදිරිපත් කරා. මේ මුළු සභාවම දන්නවා, මේ මුළු රටම දන්නවා. 2020 නොවැම්බර් මාසේ 19 වෙනිදා ඉඳලා අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරා මේ කළ යුතු දේ මොකක්ද කියලා. IMF එකට යන්න කියලා කට කැඩෙනකන් කිව්වා. මම දන්නේ 100 පාරකට වඩා කියලා තිබ්බා. හැබැයි ඒක බාරගත්තේ නෑ ගරු කතානායකතුමා. දැන් ජනාධිපතිතුමා කියනවා ඔව් අපි ඒක කලින් කරා නම් හොඳයි කියලා. ඇයි එහෙනම් කතානායකතුමා ඔබ මේ ස්ථාවර නියෝග වලට එහාට ගිහිල්ලා මේ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ තිබිච්ච බලය උදුරගත්තේ? ඇයි ඔබ ඒක උදුරගත්තේ? අපිට තිබ්බනම් ඒක අපිට අවස්ථාවක් තිබුණා කතානායකතුමා අපේ මත ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. අපිට අවස්ථාවක් ලැබුණේ නැහැ. අපිට ව්‍යවස්ථාවෙන් දීලා තිබිච්ච අවස්ථාවත් විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය හරහා උදුරගත්තා. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා තමයි කතානායකතුමා ලක්ෂ්මන් කිරියල්ල මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කියන සහ සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස අපේ විපක්ෂ නායකවරයා දිගින් දිගටම කියපු ඒ ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය, විධායක ජනාධිපති ක්‍රමය අහෝසි කිරීම තමයි මේ අවස්ථාවේදී ඉල්ලන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අනිත් දේ තමයි අද කියනවා පෙට්‍රල් මිල වැඩි වෙලා. මං දන්නෙත් නෑ මතුමා කීයද කියලා. 300 ගාණක්. කොහොමද කරන්නේ? 300 ගාණක්. හරි. දැන් IOC එකෙන් කියනවා ඒකට හේතුව ගිය මාසේ 160කින් රුපියල් අවප්‍රමාණ වුණාලු. ඉතින් ඇත්තනේ මේ න්‍යායයේ තියෙනවා යම්කිසි මුදල් ඒකකයක් අවප්‍රමාණ කරනවා නම් කොහොමද කරන්න කියලා. ඒක තියෙනවා සීක්වන්සින් කියලා. මොකද්ද කළ යුත්තේ? A B C කියලා. ඒවා එකක්වත් කරන්න නැතුව නිවාඩ් කබ්‍රාල් එක පාට මේක අතාරලා දැම්මා. රුපියල් 200ට තිබිච්ච ඩොලර් එක අද බැංකුවල විකුණන්නේ රුපියල් 349යි. කළු කඩේ විකුණන්නේ රුපියල් 410යි. කොහොමද දෙයියනේ මිනිස්සු මේ ජීවත් වෙන්නේ? එතකොට තමන්ගේ ආයතනයක් කඩා වැටෙනවා නම් ඒකට කමන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තමන් ගෙවන්න ඕනේ. මේ කරපු උද්දච්ච ක්‍රියාව නිසා, අමනෝඤ්‍ය ක්‍රියාව නිසා 220ක් ලක්ෂ ගාණක්, ලක්ෂ 220ක් දුක් විඳිනවා, මැරෙනවා. මේක පොඩි දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. මේක නිකන් වැරද්දක් නෙමෙයි. මේක මහ විනාශයක්. this is criminal. සාපරාධී ක්‍රියාවක්. කවුරු හරි මේකට වග කියන්න ඕනේ. දැන් කියන්න බෑ ජනාධිපතිතුමා කිව්වනම් මට වැරදුනා කියලා. හරි අපි එතුමා කිව්වා. හැබැයි එතනින් ඒක විසඳෙන්නේ නැහැ. මම තව එක දෙයක් කියන්නම් දිනේෂ් ගුණවර්ධන ගරු ඇමතුමා ඔබතුමාට මම මේක කැන්ටිමෙත් කියපු කතාවක්. හරි අහගන්න. අර රුපියල් ඩොලර් මිලියන 500 ගෙවන වෙලාවේ මම තර්කානුකූලව ඉදිරිපත් කරා මේ යමක්. මම කිව්වා මේවා ගත්තේ යම්කිසි අපි මේ ගජමිතුරු කණ්ඩායමක්. ඩොලර් 10 ට්‍රෙෂරි මේ ISB එක ඩොලර් 500ට ගත්තා. ඩොලර් 500ට අරගෙන සති කිහිපයකින් නැවත ඩොලර් 1000 ලබා ගත්තා. ඒකෙන් මම කිව්වා මම මෙතන පෙන්නලා දුන්නා වාර්ෂික ආදායම, වාර්ෂික පොලිය, වාර්ෂික ලාභය 100ට 300 400 ඉක්මවපු අවස්ථා තිබුණා. ඒක කරා. ඒක මම අලි සබ්රි ඇමතුමාට එදා රෑ ටෙලිෆෝන් එකෙන් කතා කරලා කිව්වා. එතුමා පුදුම වුණා. මං කිව්වා සබ්රිව හොයන්න මේ ගැන කියලා. මේක හොයන්න ඕනේ. මේකට වෝහාරික විගණනයක් කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ සල්ලි ගෙව්වේ කාගේ හරි මේ මඩිය තර කර ගන්න නම් එහෙනම් මේ ලංකාවේ මිනිස්සු එක දැනගන්න ඕනේ. දැනගෙන ඔවුන්ව එල්ලුම් ගහේ අරින්න ඕනේ. සාප කරනවා මිනිස්සු. ඉතින් ඒ නිසා අපි ඉල්ලනවා ඔබට ඒ දේ වහම කරන්න එල්ලුම් ගහස් අරින්න ඕනේ කියපේක මම ඉල්ලාස් කර ගන්නවා. මම ඒක නෙවෙයි මේ මගේ මට කියන්න ගියේ. ඉසිර දඬුවම් දෙන්න ඕනේ කියන එක. මොකද මම එල්ලුම් ගහට විරුද්ධයි. හරි. අනිත් එක තමයි අවසාන වශයෙන් කියන්න ඕනේ මේ ගෝට ගෝ හෝම් කියන මිනිස්සු ජනතාව තරුණියෝ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒගොල්ලන්ට එපා වෙලා මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ට පේනවා එක්කෙනෙක් කොහොමද මේ බලය පාවිච්චි කරලා මේ රට විනාශ කරේ කියලා. හරි. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලොන් ඉල්ලන්නේ එතන ගිහිලා බලන්න. බොහෝ දෙනා අපිත් එක්කත් සාකච්ඡා කරනවා. හරි. ඒකෙන් කියන්නේ මේක වෙනස් කරන්න යන්න. හරි. හැබැයි ඒක එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ මේ සභාවේ. ඒක ව්‍යවස්ථාවේ ඇතුලේ කරන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඔවුන්ගේ හඬ තමයි අපි ව්‍යවස්ථාව ඇතුලේ නීතිමය වශයෙන් ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ කියන එක කියමින් ඔබ සියලු දෙනාගේම සහාය ඒකට ලබා දෙන්න කියලා ඉල්ලමින් මගේ වචන ස්වල්ප අවසන් කරනවා.
Dr. Harsha, obviously that was, like you said, one of the most hard-hitting speeches that you have given in the parliament.
Yeah, perhaps.
Clearly, you know what you are talking about.
My question is this. Dr. Harsha, you know what you're talking about. Maybe a few others will. But do you think the gamut of the parliament actually understand what's going on or how serious the problem is?
Exactly.
No. A lot of people didn't understand.
Yeah.
And that's why now sometimes people are embarrassed even to look at me.
Right.
You know, in the chamber, in the lobby, in the committees, in the library, because they know that what I was showing them at that time was the true picture.
Right.
Either they didn't understand or they didn't want to understand.
True.
Right? So you know, this is the problem because, you know, and this is across Sri Lanka society that people have very little understanding of economics.
Right.
Right. And now you realize that economics is key.
Right.
Right. If you can't control or manage this country, grow this country, wealth is not going to get created. You're just becoming poorer and poorer. There is no drugs for cancer patients. You know, our 1990 ambulances don't have fuel to ferry critically ill people to the emergency care. Right? There is no electricity, so kids can't study. You know, mothers can't buy milk powder for their children. Why? Because the economics problem hasn't been resolved.
Right.
They have messed up the economy, right? So, and when I say it cuts across society, you know, from the member of parliament who's sitting in that chamber, you know, you're privileged to sit there. You know, 225 of us only get the opportunity to sit there, to legislate, you know, to, you know, change the course of this nation, you know, to think about what kind of reform is necessary, how do we integrate this nation with the world, as opposed to saying, you know, I'm an ostrich, I put my head in the sand, I don't want to see the outside, you know, let's build walls around this country, you know, let's be self-sufficient, and, you know, let's forget about exports, let's, you know, plant our little, you know, talana batu and, you know,
True.
Create import substitution. You know, let's be self-sufficient in turmeric and everything will be fine, kind
Right.
of. So, but then, you know, if we don't understand, you know, how to steer this nation in the right direction, this is what happens, right? So, but then it goes beyond the parliament. Let's take media.
Right.
You know, how much analysis do we see in the press, both printed and electronic?
Right.
You know, look at the quality of television discussions where people scream at each other and the host won't let you speak.
Right.
You know, and you know, it's just a media show.
Right.
You know, but where is that where is the depth of the discussion?
Right.
Right. I mean, look at what happens in, say, NDTV or like Indian channels.
Right.
Don't go too far away.
Right.
NDTV is, I think, a great example.
A great example, right? So where is that? If you look at the vernacular press, I mean, I can't read Tamil, but in Sinhala, there's hardly any analysis.
Right.
Hardly any analysis, right? Okay. I read the Lanka Deepa, and there is some, I can't say there's none, because there is usually page 2 or what is it, page 3.
Yeah.
The Vigrahaya, right? Depending on whichever day it is, and maybe an economics professor or political science professor may write a long piece, and I don't know how many people read such.
That's the problem.
Yeah, but then that's about it. It's about some useless thing. Some fellow was killed somewhere.
Absolutely. So it's still sensationalism that that kind of dominated in the 80s and 90s. That's following through.
Yeah, and that is why we are in this mess.
Yeah.
Right. That is why we are in this mess. You see, I used to teach a class. Where I used to, that's where I did my PhD, the University of Missouri. It's actually the oldest journalism school in the US.
Right.
It ranks, I think, like top 3.
Right.
Of course, Columbia, I think, ranks 1 School of Journalism.
Yeah.
And the University of Missouri School of Journalism is way up there. I think people like even, what's his name, David Cronkite, some of the top names,
journalists.
right?
Yeah.
Now there, for you to become to get a journalism degree, you have to get through the basic economic classes.
Right.
So I used to teach third-year journalism students. There was third-year journalism students also some of the kids I used to teach, and they used to hate it.
Right.
But they had to do it, because I said, if you don't get through this class, you can't get a J school degree, right?
So you might be robbed and you might not even know it. That's why.
So because I think we have come to that. Shaq, because it is not just the parliament, it's society as a whole. Right? People don't understand, what it is about exchange rates or interest rates or inflation. And when I was screaming, right, don't print money like this, because prices will go up, inflation will go up. The damn governor of the central bank said, no, printing money doesn't cause inflation. And in
that's basic economics, actually. I think 7th grade, pretty much.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, in university or in school, how much of basic economics, does one learn?
Right.
And I think going forward, I think we even need to change the curricula. Right? So that our country understands the importance of economics, right? Because today, why this has happened is because the parliamentarians didn't understand. The people were misled.
Right.
Absolutely. And the thing is, people also, I actually, a lot of people say 225 get out, 225 plus 1 get out, without little realizing that actually we the people have enabled this. We kept voting for the people that we are asking to leave right now. And like you said, it's not just being misled, Dr. Harsha. I feel that we are willing victims, because we were only too glad to kind of ignore the problem, because right now it didn't bite us in the ass. Right then. But now it's bitten us in the ass, it's bitten us in the collective ass. Now we don't know, what to do.
Unfortunately, also the fact that, yes, like you said, right now we don't have fuel, we don't have food, we don't have gas. But also, last couple of years, one thing that people don't understand is the fact that we have always been living on subsidies. So it has basically, we've been getting stuff lesser than the market rate. Nobody knew about this.
I mean, when you say nobody, we try to, I mean, for the last 10 years I've been saying this.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's just that people didn't listen, right? And the media didn't think it was important to explain this.
And expose it.
And expose it.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, for instance, now people who watch this show probably drive, let's say, you have a Toyota.
Right.
And say you go to the flower road shed and you put X number of liters in it at $200 a liter.
Right.
Right? And then it is sold at a big discount because the actual price, cost reflective price is subsidized.
Right.
So you fill the tank, you would get a subsidy of say 20,000 or 15,000 rupees if it is a, let's say a Toyota.
Right.
15,000 rupees, that's a subsidy.
Right.
Now the chap behind you comes in his, small motorcycle and he also pumps at same price as you do.
Right.
He gets a subsidy of say 100 rupees.
Right.
You get
15,000
15,000 rupees. Now assume the quantum of subsidy that is available to the government is 100,000 rupees.
Right.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all the subsidies we have.
Right.
So who gets the bulk of the subsidy?
Absolutely. People who can actually afford to pay
Yeah.
the actual price. Yeah.
The guys who come in Toyotas, who live in air-conditioned homes, because they use all the fuel that is subsidized at 200. So it is. So what has happened is this welfare politics, without discrimination in a right way, right?
Right.
Positive discrimination, is that it has gone to the rich.
Absolutely.
The rich have been really using most of the subsidy.
Right.
Right. Now, if that rich person had to pay market price, she can certainly afford to pay market price.
Right.
Because she makes 500,000 rupees a month
Income.
income.
Yeah,
Right.
correct.
Right.
This was actually one of the questions we posed a few days ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But the man who is taking his wife and two little children on the fuel tank of his Bajaj,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Precariously balancing on that shiny thing, which gives me goosebumps. I mean,
When you
like
look at that, yeah. And sometimes without a helmet.
without a helmet,
Yeah.
risking
Right.
their lives.
Right.
And the guy gets 100 rupees subsidy. Now, is that fair? That's totally unfair.
Right.
Right? So we have to, we have, why is that? That is because the untargeted subsidy given to the supplier.
Right.
It is given to the Petroleum Corporation or the IOC. That is not how it should be done. How it should be done is petrol should be whatever the price it ought to be.
Right.
Right? I mean, let's cut the corruption and all that out.
Correct.
Right.
I'm saying the real price, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then you pay for it. And the guy with low income,
Right.
he at the end of the month gets a cash transfer,
Right.
Money back to him.
Right.
money back to him.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? So instead of the Petroleum Corporation they're making losses, it will not make losses because it'll cover its cost.
Right.
It'll have a small profit also,
True.
a cost reflective price, and you will pay fair price because you're getting a decent salary,
Right.
and you live a good life,
Right.
right? The guy with means that are
For
lower
survival,
than-
pretty much.
for survival,
Yeah.
will get this cash transfer.
Right.
So that is the way I see, right? We need to completely turn this whole welfare subsidies on its head. And the subsidies must be given to the receiver,
Right.
not the supplier, receiver.
Right.
Depending on a means-tested basis, Shaq gets, say, a cash transfer of, 4,000 rupees a week. Anu gets, 3,000 rupees a week.
Right.
I get 6,000 rupees a week.
Right.
Right.
It's based on the ability, based on means, right? And if you do that, that is a more just and equitable way of, running this whole operation.
Yeah. So we have this question in just now, Dr. Harsha. So the Prime Minister states that the various losses the government is incurring for the various types of fuel. How is that IOC operates at similar prices and make a profit as well? This is Salia Veerasinghe who's joining us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the cost, right?
Yeah.
Obviously is about efficiency. How do you run a company?
Right.
Right? I mean, now in the case of utilities, a lot of these utilities make losses because of the price.
Right.
Now in this case, the price is the same,
Right.
Yeah.
right? I
So
mean,
it's overstaffed?
completely no.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, what do politicians do? They become the power minister or whatever, petroleum minister. They shove 300 fellows in there,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And then some, like for instance, I don't know the comparison here between IOC and
Sitback.
and
Yeah.
Sitback, what the human resource count is.
Yeah.
But in the CTB or Sri Lanka Transport Board, I think each bus has maybe 6 or 7 people attached to a bus.
To a bus.
Right. Right. Wow.
Right?
Wow. For each tire.
Right? And so completely overstaffed. I mean, we have 1.4 million people working in the public sector.
Right.
1.4 million.
Which is really not needed.
Yeah, somebody told me in the UK it's half this number, but UK's population is like 4 times or 3 times
Yeah.
ours.
Right.
So nearly 50 million, yes. So
Right.
about almost 3 times.
3 times ours,
Yeah.
but half the
Yeah.
the
But half the number in the civil service.
that's right.
See, Dr. Harsha, the thing is this. Obviously, speaking to you the last 25 minutes, you know exactly what's going on. You know where the problem is, right? And clearly, I think you taking a step forward saying, I don't want to be the finance minister has irked everyone at the moment because there is nobody out there who knows the situation as much as you do. So why cannot you obviously shrug those differences and listen, people come first and then politics. Why can't you take that on and
Absolutely, Dr.
guide us down this path that you see, which none of us do?
You know, a lot of my friends, a lot of people in our circles have asked me this very same question. Because, I think you are probably one of the 3 who haven't lost their respect, from Parliament.
Of
Everybody
course.
else is seen as pretty much the enemy.
Yeah.
So, how do you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, I have a conscience, and I find this decision very difficult to make. I mean, I've been speaking to Devyani, I've been speaking to my kids, I've been speaking to my closest friends.
Right.
Because I want to do the right thing.
Right.
Right? Now the issue, Shaq, is actually the president has to, the ball is in his court.
Right.
Correct.
Right? Because like I said, this problem is intertwined with the politics.
Right.
Right? I mean, yes, I know a few things about what needs to be done, but there are lots of other people also who know as much as I do, and perhaps a lot more than what I do. I don't profess to know everything. I'm just a simple man who knows a little bit.
Right.
Now the issue is that we need two hands to clap.
Right.
Now, like I said at the beginning, what we need is all political parties to come together.
Right.
That is how you're going to create an all-party government.
Right.
Not sort of picking Harsha up
Correct.
from
Understood.
this, right?
Yes. Understood.
Absolutely.
Understood.
And you know, that's not, you know,
That's not the answer.
that's not the answer.
Yeah, correct.
So
I mean,
Yeah.
he can poach me. Poaching me is not the answer.
right. Right.
Like, that is not going to give the legitimacy
Right.
to his government or RW's government that
Right.
they're so desperately looking for.
Right.
For God's sake, why can't they understand this? Right? I am not saying I'm not available.
Right.
I want to help.
Yeah, correct.
Right.
But it has to be in that legitimate
But it has
framework.
to be within a legitimate structure.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? I mean, you know, for me, I mean, if I am, you know, to do politics, it's a dream for me to be the Minister of Finance.
Right.
You know, it's a dream.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, and it is here for me to take.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what an idiot am I?
Right. Right.
You know,
Yeah.
who would refuse?
Yeah.
But Dr. Harsha, right now, I mean, legitimacy is something that you've been talking about quite a bit on the show. But if you walk out, clearly you can see how difficult it is. There is no one out there who could possibly actually fill in this role. That's why one of the reasons we also had that poll that basically came in,
Yeah.
which I know exactly how the outcome of that poll is going to be, right? But can we just basically shrug the political differences?
Oh.
Because people are suffering right now,
No.
like you
Yeah.
said in your speech.
No, I understand that, Shaq, and I have I have offered to chair what is called the Public Finance Committee,
Yes, you
which is a very important committee. A lot of people don't know how committees work and what role it has in getting the
Right.
legislation through, because there's going to be a lot of tough reforms that are going to come.
Right.
Right? And without an all-party backing, we will not be able to get those reforms through.
Right.
And RW's government won't have that all-party structure.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It cannot do it.
Right.
Right? I mean, Ranil Wickremesinghe is the man who brought me into politics.
Right.
I have deep respect for the gentleman.
Right.
Right? And you know, and he taught me a lot about politics. We've gone our separate ways, nothing to do, you know, personally.
Correct.
It's a political
Decision.
decision.
Right.
And today when Sajid Premadasa got up and said, you know, we would like to, you know, have Harsha chair the Public Finance Committee, right? And RW got up as Prime Minister and said it would be a great pleasure.
Yeah. On that note, I think we've got that video for our viewers. If you didn't
Yeah.
check it out, we'll just quickly have a look at that one right now.
Yeah.
ගරු අග්‍රාමාත්‍යතුමනි ඇමතිකම් අවශ්‍ය නැහැ. මම යෝජනාවක් කරන ඔබතුමාට. විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ අවස්ථාවේ කියන්න කැමති අපේ හර්ෂ ඩි සිල්වා මැතිතුමා. මේ නව සංස්කෘතිය ගැන අංශු මාත්‍රයක හෝ ක්‍රියාකාරී වැඩපිළිවෙලක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි වේදයකින් තොරව එකඟ වෙමු එතුමාව පබ්ලික් ෆිනෑන්ස් කමිෂන් එකේ කමිටි ඔන් පබ්ලික් ෆයිනෑන්ස් එකේ චෙයාර්මන් කරන්න. ඒතර සක්‍රියව බද්ධ වෙලා උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන්.
Certainly, to have Mr. Harsha, Dr. Harsha De Silva working with me is a great pleasure. I mean, he's worked with me earlier. I have no problems at all.
Do you have problems working with the PM?
Not at all, not at all. I have no problem with working with anyone. I mean, I am touched by the compliment he
Yeah,
And
paid.
possibly, I think after so many sessions of Parliament, this is the first time that two sides have agreed on to
Yes,
something.
it's the first one.
First
Actually,
time.
because usually it's a shouting match.
Thanks to you.
Yeah, thanks to me. No, it's the first time.
First
Yeah.
time.
It's the first time.
First time.
Yeah, well, at least in a long time.
That's
Correct,
right.
correct.
Right? I mean, but so So there, what I want to do is to create a all-party committee, right? And there I can bring, this committee has a hell of a lot of power.
Right.
It can summon any minister. Every day I can summon Prime Minister if he's Minister of Finance.
Right.
Or whoever the Minister of Finance is, ask him to participate and contribute to developing what I want to call an economic revival plan.
Right.
So I have in my mind, and I have a blueprint of what the economic revival plan should look like.
Right.
But we need to get the support of all political parties, because that's the only way we can get it through Parliament.
Right.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And then only if we can get it through Parliament can they be legislated,
Right.
And then whether it is revision of taxes, revision of subsidies,
Right.
revision or rationalization of expenditure, what have you.
Right.
Right? So I have great hope.
Right.
And I also want to create what I call independent budget office.
Right.
Within
Right.
Parliament.
Right.
It happens in the UK, happens in Singapore, happens
Like
in the US.
like the shadow cabinet? Or?
Yeah, no, it's more like a set of professionals.
Right. Oh, right.
Or
Okay.
looking at numbers and doing the analysis.
Right.
Now,
right.
now, for instance, now whatever the Minister of Finance wants to get approved in Parliament,
Right.
if it has to do with finance, money, taxes, subsidies, expenditure, it cannot go into the House for a vote before it is passed by the Committee on Public Finance.
Right.
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 All these years, what happened is, even though I tried to, as an opposition MP, to try and change that, didn't happen, is one morning the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance would send a document and he'll show up there and say, we want to reduce taxes by this much. We want to increase duties of tithes by this much. We want to increase the duty of some damn thing by so much.
Yeah.
Reduce the tax for sugar by so much,
Right.
from 50 rupees to 25 cents.
Right.
And there is no analysis. It's no bloody analysis.
Right.
Right? What
just
would
done.
happen if you do this? What's the next step? What's the next step? What is the impact on the people? What is the impact on poor people? What is the impact on, how does this thing,
Yeah.
if you call it a shock, how is that shock absorbed?
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing. And I kept warning them. I said, if you don't do any analysis, don't come here to this committee and ask for these
Reductions
revisions.
or whatever.
Yeah. So, but they want your approval to go to Parliament.
But they get the approval and they go.
Yeah.
And there is no discussion here, no analysis here. There is no discussion in the House. Damn thing is approved. Now, for instance, the trigger for this collapse was Gotabaya Rajapaksa's decision to cut taxes.
Taxes.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's the very day, I recall I was with Devyani, we had gone to the Apico,
Right,
the supermarket.
Right.
I had parked the car and I got this thing on my phone. I was shocked.
Right.
Then immediately I called a senior official at the Treasury and I said, what the hell?
Right.
And he said, you know what, Dr. Harsha, we don't know anything about this.
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean you don't know anything about this? You're the bloody Treasury. They said, no, it came from the President's office. We had nothing to do with it.
Right.
Now you see,
Yeah.
that caused this slide.
Right.
That was the trigger. Now, how it should never have happened. It should never have happened. Because without analysis, these decisions were made. One day, President said, from tomorrow, no import of chemical fertilizer.
Yes.
Where the hell is the analysis for this? What if you stop chemical fertilizer? What is the impact on paddy? What is the impact on vegetables? What's the impact on
Absolutely.
corn and maize? Or, what is the impact on, cost of living? Where are the numbers?
Dr. Harsh, a lot of people feel that that the president was misled by a lot of advisors, maybe family, those around him. Do you think that was the case, or was he just arbitrary?
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know how people can make such decisions. So that's why this is a turning point for this country. We had a crossroads, right? We talked about earlier how the general public need to be more aware on matters of economics.
Absolutely.
Another thing is decision making, policy making should never be allowed without a complete analysis.
Right.
I mean, we got a lot of people who are technically capable of doing these things, right? In the central bank, in the treasury, in think tanks like the Institute of Policy Studies or Advocata Institute or Verite.
Yeah.
There are so many, economics related
And
think tanks.
independent
And
private
think
bodies,
tanks,
yes.
right? I mean, so how come this vast knowledge, base of knowledge is not used, and all these guys are sitting there writing papers and filing them in some cabinet or in your hard drive. Nobody knows, and then some joker makes a idiotic decision without any analysis, no evidence, and this is what happens.
So, Dr. Harsha, now obviously there was a point when the previous Prime Minister gave his resignation, the President did call upon the opposition to form a government, right? And clearly at that point, according to what we hear, is the fact that the opposition did put down conditions in order to form the government, but one of the strongest conditions was the President must go, right? However, maybe 24 or 48 hours, we see a change of conditions, and that yes, you must go, but give us a stipulated time. Is it because the fact that the opposition felt that the job was going away from them? Did that condition come into play? Because it was given to you on a platter for you to take it if you wanted to take it.
It's a good question, and I think some explanation is necessary, because otherwise people don't know what happened. So I think it was Sunday morning or Sunday morning perhaps, President called Sajid and he said, look, I would like you to form a government. Then he said, fine, let me speak to my parliamentary group and I'll come back to you. Then he called everybody, we all met, and he said, look, I got this call, how do we respond?
Right.
And then all of us sat around, had pros and cons, and then Sajid was very adamant that the president must go.
Right.
And then he was sticking to that position.
Right.
Some of us, me included, said, let's work on some sort of time frame.
Right.
And let's see, right, whether he can bring the 19th back immediately.
Correct.
And then work on the 21st, which is what's all we tabled. It's gazetted,
right,
which calls for quote unquote abolition of the executive presidency. It doesn't get abolished. That presidency
becomes
remains.
a nominal role.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, but then the president is elected by parliament, but
right,
not by
General,
the
by the
public,
presidential
right?
right. Yes.
And he still has power to. He'll still be the head of state, and he'll still be the commander of the armed forces, and all that is there.
Right.
Then he has the power to ensure the provincial council issues that otherwise could come up,
right,
and so on.
Correct.
So and then it was a telephone call. So Sajid said, instead of giving a call, why don't you go and have a chat with the president?
Right.
So
you were one of the individuals who basically went to speak to the president.
Yes.
Right.
And then what happened was, Monday, we were trying to go on Monday.
Right.
And then all hell broke loose on Monday.
Right.
The 9th.
And Sajid himself was holed up,
right,
because those now we know political elements in there.
Right.
Tried to assault him.
So, Dr. Harsha, the request came to you before the Prime Minister tendered his resignation?
the request came on over the weekend.
Over the weekend, the Sunday before, obviously, the Monday when all hell broke loose.
Yeah. That's right.
Right, okay.
Right. Then because remember they said the Prime Minister was resigning.
Planning on resigning.
Yeah. And then the Prime Minister said he's not resigning.
Right.
Remember that
Yeah.
Monday morning?
Right,
Yes.
right.
And then all these things happened. It was a chaotic day.
Yeah.
There was no way we could meet the President on that day. Then the next day was Tuesday.
Right.
And we met him.
Right.
We went to his residence, Mr. Anjipadu Bandara, Mr. Iran Vikramaratne, Mr. Kabir Hashim and myself.
Right.
And we were there, we went there at 8 o'clock, we were there till about 20 minutes past 10.
Right.
Right? More than 2 hours.
Right.
President was also stressed out, tired, because everything was happening around him. And then we had this discussion, and we told him. Then he said, Harsha, you're not expecting me to go tomorrow. So I said, no, sir, no one is expecting you to go tomorrow.
Right.
All what we are talking about is a time frame.
Yeah.
Right.
Give us a plan.
Minimum time frame for you to leave based on the adoption of the 21st Amendment,
Right.
which calls for the abolition of this particular structure of the executive presidency.
Right.
And that also cannot happen in Parliament because it's a major change in the Constitution. You'll have to have a 2/3 and then you'll have to have a referendum.
Right.
So everything was in discussion.
Right.
Yeah.
Then that was Tuesday. Wednesday, nothing happened. Nothing happened on Wednesday.
Yeah. In fact, we were to meet you that Monday night.
That's right.
That's
That's
right.
right.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
I
That's
called
right.
and cancelled because curfew was imposed.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Nothing happened on, I think, curfew when
Yeah.
everybody was,
Actually, Wednesday was when the president met with the current prime minister,
Right.
and everything started coming out in the open, saying that he was actually going, most probably tipped to be prime minister. And then the opposition sent a letter on Thursday.
Yeah, no. So what happened was Wednesday night, right? Wednesday night, President addressed the nation.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And in that address, he alluded to these points.
Right.
He said, I'm bringing back 19.
Yes.
Right.
And I'm even thinking of, I think, the abolition of the executive presidency.
Right.
Correct.
Then we met the next morning.
Right.
And then we said, okay, now there seems to be some response to
Right.
our
Yeah.
discussion. Let's put it down on paper
Right.
and send it to him.
Right.
So we drafted this and we sent it to him,
Right.
right? And I don't know whether it was Thursday or whatever the
Yeah,
next day,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
after the
Right.
after the address to the nation.
Right.
Yes, there were various social media speculation, right? That RW will take over PM. But RW had not spoken to any members of the opposition.
Right.
Because we were supposed to establish not a SJB government, but a
All-party.
all-party government.
Right.
So if you're going to set up an all-party government, you have to speak to all parties.
Right.
So we had discussions with various different groups.
Right.
The independent groups, the SLFP, and all that. So
Right.
we did all that.
Right.
Right. We
Right.
were doing it the right way.
Right.
Okay. And then we sent the thing, and then we saw at 6:30, RW was appointed Prime Minister.
Right.
And the next day, President wrote a letter to Sajid and said, look, two things. Your letter was late, and two, some of these conditions that you have or requests that you have made, we didn't have the opportunity to discuss with my team.
Right.
Now, that is what he said.
Right.
Now, Shaq, there is no time limit. There is no, like you have to send a letter before 4:45.
Right.
Right? Otherwise, I will appoint somebody else. There's nothing like that.
Right.
This is
You're not appointing a prefect.
no.
Right.
This is this is establishing a government.
Right.
An all-party government.
Right.
Right? So the criticism is unfair.
Okay.
That we sort of just because RW was going to be appointed.
Yeah.
I think that is what is actually coming out, because right now we see what the clear picture is.
Yeah.
Like I said, the criticism that came out was, yes, you need to step down. If not, we are not going to be under your
This is
government.
once again how media plays this.
Exactly,
Because it loves to pit one against the other, and we've seen this time and time again. But is there does the SJB? Are you upset that Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe took up the post?
No, I'm upset that we really didn't have the opportunity to do it.
Right.
Right? I mean, we should have been I am not happy at what has
How it transpired.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I don't know whether Mr. Wickramasinghe had any conditions. There's nothing that, I mean, our letters are out in the public.
Right.
We have said these are, it's transparent, right? So I don't know what the discussion was between Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe and Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa.
Right.
Right. And we don't even know what's going to happen. Right. So that is why he's imprisoned in a Pohotwa group.
Right.
I mean, that was very evident yesterday.
Yeah.
When RW himself said, let's appoint a female member of parliament for the post of the deputy speaker, and we propose Rohini.
Yeah.
And the Prime Minister was surprised when suddenly
A name was proposed from
somebody else's name was proposed. And I spoke to him afterwards, and he was quite upset because that wasn't what was supposed to happen.
Absolutely.
So it was Basil sitting at the back, directing the show.
Yeah.
Right.
So Basil is talking to the group, the parliamentary group. He leads the parliamentary group because PM is not part of the parliamentary group. Parliamentary group is acting according to what Basil wants.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then there is already massive conflict.
Quite clearly strong-arming Mr. Wickramasinghe.
No, because that is because he's imprisoned in that.
Yeah.
Right? Because if he had a cabinet, I don't know what the cabinet will look like. I don't know. Maybe tonight, tomorrow they will appoint. I don't know when.
Yeah.
But it should have had a broad coalition of all groups. Sumandirans, the AKDs,
Right.
the Raufs, the Manos, the Patalis, the SAB. Everyone.
Yeah, that's what it's meant by an all-party government.
Yeah. But here we have Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe and a bunch of Portua guys.
Why do you think he took this position? I mean, why? Because look, again, posing questions as to what the talking circles is going on. That's exactly what we do.
Absolutely.
As far as
I mean,
guess
speculation at best.
Speculations.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got one group saying that obviously the current Prime Minister took on this role because he is there to save the Rajapaksas. Then you've got the others that are actually going to come forward and say, listen, he's the man who can save it because he's got the connections. He's got the overseas relations much better than anybody else, right? What do you think would have gone through Prime Minister's mind at that point when he decided to take it on? Because this is a massive, massive job.
Yeah, I mean, knowing him, he's a very smart guy. Right?
Yes.
I mean, how did he survive all these years, politically? And
You've worked with him.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know.
I know the man.
Right.
That's what I said. I have deep respect for the man.
Right.
Right. And how? I mean, this is a world record.
Yeah.
Right. With no one.
Yeah.
Right.
Backdoor entry, as you say.
And then he's prime minister. Right? So he's like a very sharp mind, right? Now, obviously, what he thought is like what you said earlier. I'll get in, and then I'll try to get the 19th, and then I'll try to do something with the 21st, and on that promise, I will get the other parties to join.
Right.
But unfortunately, all other parties have refused.
Right.
There's no other party that has joined him.
Right.
Except the Port Tour
Right.
and the various breakaway groups of the Port Tour, they are already back with them. So, I mean, they ran under Port Tour, so they are
Right.
Port Tour as far as
Right.
I'm concerned.
Correct. Right.
Whether Gammampila and Veeravansa is not Port Tour,
Right.
Yeah, that's anyway, that's a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
Anyway.
right? So they are. But it hasn't really gone the way he expected.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? And the simple reason is, like I said, that, there has to be some indication,
Right.
right, of where this is going to go, because it is the economics cannot be resolved without resolving the politics. So I am sorry to say, but Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe will not be able to deliver
Right.
unless and until he is able to create this all-party government. And the day he is able to show me, look, it can happen, I will go.
Right.
Right? Because then that means the SJB can go.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
The SJB can go means I can go, which means immediately you bring that legitimacy to the government.
Right.
You have the stability. We have what it takes to create the confidence
Right.
in us,
Right.
Yeah.
amongst the international community. That is what I'm waiting for. Right? It's easy for me to say, I'm the Minister of Finance.
Yeah, but it has to mean something.
It has to mean something.
Absolutely. Dr. Harsha, my other question is this. Now we play on this very speculative field of amongst the 225 members of parliament. The Aragalaya is I seem to, it's an entirely different animal out there. A social animal made up of different strata of society. And what they are asking for is, they might not necessarily understand the complexity of the situation. I firmly believe. They know something's wrong, fundamentally wrong, and they want it changed. But obviously a country is governed through its constitution primarily, and that to change that there are certain rules. You can't have a mob mentality kind of takeover, and there is no natural hierarchy forming in the Aragalaya too, for obvious reasons, because nobody wants to be holier than thou or more important than thou. So in that sense, okay, while this political turmoil and the economic turmoil is being addressed, you need to address their concerns too. And they might not necessarily support what's happening.
Or agree with what you're saying in terms of the legitimacy. They say, listen, help us. Right? Right? How do we move forward?
How do we address that?
You see, now the Aragalaya really is not just the kids at the
Of course
Absolutely
not.
not.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
It's everywhere.
Right.
Right? So it's a concept,
Yeah.
right, for change.
Right.
And these have been articulated by various people. Let's take the Bar Association of Sri Lanka,
Right.
right, headed by Salia Pires.
Yes.
Now, they had a bunch of
10
issues.
points. Yes.
Yeah.
10 points.
Yeah.
Now, all of these people have prominently, as one of the key points, the abolition of the executive presidency.
Right.
Right?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
so that is what everybody is
Yeah.
talking about, because we are in this mess because of this kind of decision making.
Yeah.
Right? What's the point in going, trying to resolve it without resolving the root cause?
Yes.
There's no point in trying to find a plaster solution for the symptom. Right? I mean, you have to
Yes.
fix the problem. Right? So, we are always short term. In 2 weeks' time, we forget.
Right.
Yes.
That is our problem.
Right.
Then suddenly, people say, oh, now this is done. No, forget about the other issue.
True. My fear
Right?
is also that
You know?
once the fuel, the medicine, and the food is addressed, people, the status quo is re-established. So
Yeah, try to understand that we are the only country that has gone bankrupt in 50 years in the entire region. Try to understand that.
Yeah.
And try to understand why it has happened. Right? We can't always find easy solutions and say, I'll placate this guy, emotionally do this. I mean, I am an emotional guy. You see, I mean, I speak from the bottom of my heart.
Right.
Shaq, I'm trying to be, I mean, I left a bloody corporate thing, cushy life,
Yeah.
and come here to be,
To serve.
yeah, but then so for me, position is nothing.
Right.
in fact, I remember you telling me, Dr. Harsha, whether to run last time or not.
I remember
Yeah.
at Bari's 50th.
Yes.
Right.
That's
Right, Bari's 50th. We were having a few beers.
Libations.
And I told you, look, I don't even want to run. You remember?
Absolutely. And I said, you have to run.
That's right. I mean, it doesn't matter to me, the politics. I mean, whether I'm just the same guy who you knew 20 years ago,
Yeah.
Shaq.
Right.
I haven't changed a bit.
Yeah.
Right? My point is, it is not about me becoming the finance minister. It is me becoming the finance minister in a
legitimate environment.
in that legitimate environment,
Yeah.
so that I can do something. I go there, I can't do a damn thing.
Right. You feel you can't do anything, or you know that you won't be
No,
able to
it's-
do
it's-
anything.
I know I won't be able to
Yeah.
do anything because
Right.
I'm going to be controlled by a bunch of poor tour guys.
Yeah.
That is what we wanted to basically get out of your mouth, Dr. Harsha. It took us one entire hour.
No, it was, I mean, we all suspected
We
it.
knew
because
it,
was-
Yeah, I mean, that is why I was being diplomatic.
No,
when I
that's
say-
fine. I mean,
Yeah.
see, the thing is this, the other thing I want to basically also ask you, you're talking about abolishing the executive presidency. Isn't this what you promised when you came into party of power back in 2015? Why didn't you do it?
I mean, it has to be done by the president. You see, I never had any real authority.
Right.
I was never made a cabinet minister.
No, I'm saying, why did you, in terms of the
I
party?
had no sort of real power in
Right,
determining,
yeah, right.
because it's a cabinet decision,
Right,
right?
right.
Having said that,
Right,
Maithripala Sirisena promised it.
right.
That's
And
true. We all remember it.
Yeah, at the first death commemoration of Madhudave Sobidatero,
Right,
Yeah.
right? He repeated it.
right,
I think it was at his funeral.
Yeah.
He said it.
right,
I'm going to do this.
right,
And he did it.
right.
Chandrika said it. Mahinda 1 said it. Mahinda 2 said it. Right? Sirisena said it. Gotabe, of course, didn't say it. So he never said that he was going to abolish it. He's the only guy who didn't.
Yeah.
But now,
But looks likely that he'll be the one to do it. Hopefully.
I mean, then do it, man, for God's sake.
Yeah. I mean, why
mean,
why
you
wait
know,
around,
I mean, yeah, why wait around?
Yeah.
You know what? Forget about abolishing the executive presidency. I don't think they will even go back to the 19th.
Oh, really?
Why do you think? Why do you think I think so? Because Basil.
Right.
The one non-elected.
19th Amendment, or going back to the 19th means he's not legitimate anymore.
You go back to the 19th, Basil goes back home to Los Angeles.
Right.
So if Basil is still controlling RW and everyone, why would he want to give up and go?
Right.
Why is he going to say, okay, Ranil, bring this amendment so you can kick me out of parliament?
Right. Right.
So how can 19th come?
So just the way that you've indicated the fact that you would like to work in a legitimate, conducive environment, Doesn't the Prime Minister also request something like that? I mean, even though right now I heard his speech today, he said he does not know which side of the bridge he's actually standing on, right? Could be on this because he clearly, obviously, opposition's always out there, right? And people, you know, that he's supposed to be is not backing him. Do we see him saying, okay, to hell with it, I'm done and dusted, I'm going to go off? Because right now, there's nothing for him to lose, Dr. Harsha. He's been in this position about sixth time now. So there's nothing. So this is like do or die situation for him.
Yeah, I mean, he also, you know, he's expecting things to happen.
That's right.
And, you know, the probability of some of these things happening, you know, is very remote, you know. So I don't know how it's going to go. He says he doesn't know whether he's on this side, that side, or in the middle. Right? All he said is, you know, Grusha carrying the baby across the river. So I told him yesterday that, you know what the memes? I said, no, what are the memes? He said, like Grusha carried Michael, they are saying you are carrying Namal.
Yes, I've seen those.
We have a quick question that actually come up on the show. If the president, by some miracle, resigned tomorrow, will we still be able to secure IMF funds and other international help without a president? Ranga Vimalasuriya wants to know.
No. That's not how it works. If the president resigns, the constitutionally, what happens is the Prime Minister becomes the president for 30 days.
Right.
Interim president.
Right.
And then after that, or within the 30 days, that either him or somebody else will have to be ratified in that post.
Right.
To serve out the remainder of the term.
Right.
So there won't be a situation where there won't be a president.
Right. So automatically basically takes over. Okay, we're into the final few minutes as far as the show is concerned. We've been talking about this, saying that right now we are royally screwed, right? To say it, you know, in no
In the most succinct way possible.
Exactly. Where do we go from here? How do we go from here? The general public does not know how to go. That's why they keep turning to you, Dr. Harsha, because you've been talking about this and warning the government for the last 2 years. Clearly, that's why they say, listen, you need to do it, right? But where do we go from here? Because politics seems to be playing an upper hand than looking at the at the people's issues.
You know, and even the Aragale seems to have been circumvented in the little machinations that have gone on right now.
Yeah.
So there cannot be no hope.
No, there is always hope, Shaq. I mean, you know, this can be turned around. I mean, I am an optimist, and you know, this is a beautiful country.
Of course.
You know, awesome people, natural resources. I mean, the GPS cannot be any better than it is. Right?
Yes, of course.
So everything is, you know, aligned. It's just, it's the politics of this nation that really, you know,
Holding us back,
took us to this level. So it will be politics that will take us back up.
Okay.
The right type of politics.
Right.
Honest politics, transparent politics.
Is that even possible?
I mean, look, countries have done it. You know, countries have done it,
Yes.
right? I mean, you have two choices. No, one is a dictator, one is a democracy.
Right.
The dictator, look what the dictator did to us.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So
yeah.
we don't want a dictator. We want a democracy. Right? So it is tough. It is tough. Right? But I am optimistic that we can get our country out of here.
Right.
Right? But then at the beginning I told you, you know, by going into the hard default today, it has made it that much more difficult.
Yeah. Right.
Right? All the evidence points in the direction that this was the wrong thing to have happened to us. Right?
Right.
So it's going to be tougher, but we have to essentially. It's about you know, a few things. One, we must understand that we cannot always consume by taking loans.
Yeah.
Right.
Can't borrow and consume
Right.
continuously.
Right.
Yeah, we continuously can't do that. At some point, we got to either produce more
Yeah.
or consume less. Ideally, produce more.
Right.
And if we don't have that dollar to spend, let's not spend that dollar.
Right.
Right? Let's wait for tomorrow to earn that dollar and spend.
Right.
Right? So that's one whole area of things that we need to.
So very stringent measures in that case.
Yeah, with fiscal discipline, if
Right.
you put it technically.
Right.
Yeah.
The second grouping of things is, get the real economy going,
Okay.
right? I mean, get the productivity up,
Correct.
right? It's called total factor productivity. Bringing the technology, create efficiencies, do greenhouses as opposed to open fields,
Yeah.
Right.
right? Use machines instead of,
Traditional labor.
Manual
Yeah,
labor.
manual labor,
Right.
right? Have digitize things as opposed to having 200 files to go through.
That seems to be the biggest problem here.
Correct. Bring smart learning devices into schools. Instead of trying to
Age-old parrot system.
yeah,
of-
parrot
Yeah.
system.
Yeah.
Let kids, mess around with, tabs and
Right.
and figure things out, and then create, good jobs. It's about jobs, the real economy, growth, right? And that growth should not be looking inwards, but looking outwards. Money that is borrowed must be put in what are called tradable production areas, meaning instead of building the Nelum Kuluna, what if you build 10 electronics manufacturing or component manufacturing factories? Don't forget, this is what Mr. Premadasa did in 1990 or 91, and Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe completed it after he passed away. That is still keeping us going.
Right.
From 94 to 2000, all these 25 years, the ideology was not what I am now, spelling out.
Right.
The ideology of the Rajapaksas and the Bandanayakas and the, Sirisenas, all inward looking,
Right.
all statist, all saying expand public sector, all saying create state jobs,
Right.
all saying run corporations. No, right? It is a different, it has to be, my thing has always been break down the walls around Sri Lanka and build bridges to the world.
Right.
Right? Integrate with what are called global production networks. So to do that, the real economy must grow. The third aspect is monitoring and evaluation and transparency and
of course.
institutions and proper governance and holding people accountable and stopping corruption.
Right.
So those are the things that we need in sort of very broadly speaking to get this country up and running again. And it can. It certainly can. And if somebody
I just have a little addendum to that same question where you said now to be transparent and actually get back, actually have this manufacturing economics started. But we do have trade unionism here, which is very, very powerful. Also the civil service, which is, because you can't really blame only politicians for getting their hands dirty. The civil service has been in the dirty business for a long, long time, and a lot of people know this. And trade unions are also bought and sold on people's different political agendas.
And very strong. And very strong.
Yeah, so this is why we talk about a social market economy.
Right.
And you know, labor, you see, it has value, right? I mean, it must be appreciated.
Yeah.
Right? And they have to be part of decision making, in my view. So the dream I have, right, is where tripartite decisions are made, right? Now, I mean, if you look at the absolute vast majority of people in this country, what is the only asset they have? Their labor.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all. How many people can actually, start businesses? They talk about entrepreneurship and all that, true, but
Where's the capital?
Where's the capital? Our banks don't even lend you, a couple of million rupees to start a business.
Couple of 100,000 they don't.
100,000.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you have started this thing,
Right.
Probably know how, difficult it is to even set something up.
Yeah. Our ODA was rejected, just to let you know. So we haven't taken a loan. Right? But we know exactly how hard it is.
Yeah.
We could say that we are one of the very few lucky individuals.
Yeah.
There are so many people out there with brilliant ideas who just can't get ahead of themselves.
That's what I'm saying. So therefore, I mean, we have to create jobs. Look at China. 500 million people were taken out of poverty in a generation.
Yeah.
Because China changed its economic game plan, right, from closed to being open.
Yeah.
Right? And look at Vietnam, look at all these countries that are booming.
Yeah.
Look at Bangladesh. I mean, for God's sake,
Yeah.
we had to beg from Bangladesh. I have just last night, a dear friend of mine who was in college with me, Muhammad Elahi, works in Chicago, and he sent me a text yesterday. He said, bro, what's going on? I said, Elahi, I'm personally okay. He said, no man, country. And I put in capital letters, a word which probably you can all guess. Right.
Ends with a D and starts with
Right. So what I'm saying is, so it can be. It
can be done.
It can be done. So all these other countries are doing it, and it's only 22 million people.
That's true.
Right.
But something that you pointed out, Dr. Harsha, just before, I mean, there's so much we can actually talk about.
Yeah,
we can
but
carry
we'll be
on
here
talking.
all night.
Oh my God, yes. Quick question. Sureshni says, as a man with foresight, if the current political environment doesn't change, how much worse can it get for us to survive? And how long will it take practically for us to see some positive development? I mean, the Prime Minister the other day in his statement said it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
But it's pretty bad right now.
I mean, I'll just give you some data and I will stop because,
I mean, we'd love to go on.
No, I mean, we were $4,000
Yeah.
before this whole calamity happened, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, when Gotabaya Rajapaksa took office, the dollar was 182 rupees to the dollar.
Right.
Now it is 360 odd rupees to the dollar if you can get it. That's 100% depreciation, right? So our GDP per capita, right, how we are compared across countries, how rich we are, we were $4,000 a person.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the 17 trillion GDP and divide that by 365, you end up with 2,200
Per person.
per person. So we've gone back, a good 10, 12 years, right? But then this is captured on a nominal basis, meaning inflation will also help push
Right.
that number up.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting by the time the year ends, right, the 17 trillion GDP will go up to a certain level. Even if we stay at 360, 350, hopefully it should strengthen a little bit more.
Yeah.
Let's say we go to $3,000. So that means we've fallen from 4,000. The best case is going to be 3,000,
Right.
or maybe little lower than that.
Right.
So to catch up $1,000 or $1,250 is going to take a little while,
Right.
right? And even if we grow at 6%, 7%,
Yeah.
it's going to take, we've fallen, 7, 8, 10 years. And
Another
to get
5
back
years?
to 2019, it probably take us another 3, 4, 5, 4 years
Yeah.
to get back to 2019. And by the time Bangladesh and others, Vietnam,
Yeah.
would have
They would have
raced ahead. So
massively overpaced,
it's sad.
It's going to be a catch-up for the rest of our lives, so to
It's
say.
going to be catch up, but at least if we change now as a nation, think that we have to work on time, that, bribing fellows is not the way to go, just work, yes, let's take the weekend off, but the rest of the day, let's put our, let's work.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't work in this country. I'm sorry to say, they just bullshit.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and then do the right thing.
One, I think something that is going to sort of stick with me is one statement that you made just before we get into the answers, the results of the poll, is the fact that politics is what has actually brought us here, and politics is what is going to lift us from this point. That's going to be there for a while, so we really need to basically now focus on that. Just before we go, we're going to quickly check on the poll, and Anu's going to do the needful in terms of the question. Let's find out what the guess is. A fair amount of people actually watching us.
Yeah, today at the beginning of the show, this was the poll question we put out there. Is Dr. Harsha De Silva the best option for finance minister, yes or no? We've had multiple, discussions about that, here. But of course, you were to WhatsApp your answer yes or no to our hotline 0751 707072, and these are the results. So yes, we kind of expected that.
A fair amount of people actually watching us online right now, and of course it's been shared on social media substantially. 98% say Dr. Harsha De Silva is the best option for finance minister.
I will take it if the president is willing to play ball.
Okay.
Yeah. Good to know.
On that note, just before we go, I think we also need to basically give us just introduce our guest for tomorrow. Good friend of yours, Dr. Harsha, who's actually coming on the show tomorrow. Tomorrow is also going to be season finale, and let's have it on the screen right now, Darren. Yes, tomorrow we have a good friend of yours who's going to be on the show. Eran Vikramaratne is going to be on the show tomorrow, and we certainly need to find out on how he decided to basically step down from a CEO role and get into politics, and how is he surviving?
No, that's not the question. The question is, now, is he the fastest 100 meters runner in Parliament?
That's a very important question.
Very important question.
In his sarong.
And did he get into the wrong vehicle?
That's another important question. But Dr. Harsha, thank you so much for coming and spending. I know you've got minimal time to spare.
Exactly.
These days, but thank you so much.
No, I
for
appreciated it. Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate Dr. Harsha. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you,
It's been
Dr.
wonderful
Thanks,
seeing
Anand.
him. Thank you so much. All those questions. So many people obviously sending questions. Sadly, we couldn't actually get all those questions up.
Yeah, because by the time the question came in, we had moved on to
exactly
other topics. So,
thank you so much for being a part of the show tomorrow night. Like you just saw, Eran Vikramaratne is going to be on the show as our season finale. Till we speak to you tomorrow night. Once again, thank you, Dr. Harsha, for being a part of the show. Have yourself a great Wednesday night. We'll speak to you tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Let me bless you with lots of petrol and diesel, if you can find it.
Only blessings you get these days. Have yourself a good night, everybody.
Good night.